Thank you so much for joining us today. This is our special Grammy panel, and I'm really thankful to have Chandler Poling as our moderator today, co-founder of White Bear PR. And I just want to do a few thank yous up front because some people might not stay the whole time. I want to thank Alexa Borden, our executive director, for all of her help with this, and Lily Hayden and Star Perotti for all of their amazing work on this panel. So we are recording this to YouTube. Wow, we're recording this to YouTube so people can watch later. Chandler, if you'd like to take it away, let's get this party
Sure.
started.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Chandler Poling. I'm one of the co-founders of the Alliance for Women Film Composers when it started back in 2016. And it's fun to be here because the Grammys, I really started working in the Grammy world and Grammy campaigns in 2016 with Laura Cartman, actually. Ask Your Mama. That was one of my first Grammy projects that I got to work on, and later became obviously a Grammy-winning album, multi-nominated album. And it's been an exciting number of years as the Grammys have continued to expand, obviously, its visual media categories into video games. And, we've got classical compendium awarding people all the time. So it's an exciting time to showcase all these women composers and artists in this session. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to go category and then call up people within that category. And we're going to try to limit this to about 3 minutes. So unfortunately, we can't get in depth, but there will be, or there has been an email, and there will be a future email with listening links, a Spotify playlist, and ways to consider the music even further. So to start, I'm actually going to call up Miss Laura Cartman. I thought that would be a great way to kick us off. Laura Cartman is our,
Oh my God,
first
I was just going to
president.
run out of the room. Yes.
Yes, our first president of the Alliance for Women Film Composers. I got to serve under her as what we call the prime minister role, and and so we got to go to the Grammys, obviously back in Ask Your Mama era, and you
Mhm.
have a couple albums up for consideration. So, in the field of visual media, tell us what albums are under consideration and a little bit about them.
Hi everybody. Thanks for taking me first. We are recording in the other room, and we've been doing it since 5, so I'm definitely bleary. Um, we've got a bunch of stuff in contention this year. I've got Captain America, which was, of course, the score for
Okay, I'm
Marvel.
free after. Okay, great.
Um, sorry. There you go. Yeah. So I've got Captain America, and so that is very groovy. We've got Duster, which is a show that I did for HBO Max, and then we have What If, which I co-scored with Nora, my wife, Nora Cor Rosenbaum.
Fantastic. And these are all in the score soundtrack for visual media category, everybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got to see Captain America Brave New World in the cinemas. It was a fantastic score.
Hmm.
And tell us a little bit about Duster. We might not be familiar with Duster.
Well, I mean, before we quickly leave Captain America, we are doing a screening of it at UTA on October 10th. So mark that in your calendars and please come along. And Chandler, I mean, I know you're not here, but it'd be great to see you. Um, and that was a super exciting score for me to do, mostly because I really got to stretch in terms of really utilizing electronics and then orchestrating the electronics. And I think it's actually important to say. And I say this with a bit of caution, but I'm willing to throw caution to the wind. It was significant because it was really a boy movie. And it had a male lead, it had a male director. And so it was, there were definitely rock and roll times, which I will talk about in another context, but it was very, very interesting to be able to work on something of that scale within a franchise that people have very strong feelings about, and to be able to add my own sort of take on it, I suppose. Anyway, Duster is a very cool series, strangely not renewed by HBO Max, but it features Elena Penderhughes, who was kind of my muse on American fiction. And it's just a groovy show produced by J.J. Abrams, and it's kind of Lalo Schifrin meets funk 70s. I don't know. It's cool. And I had a great time writing it, and I'm sorry to not be able to carry on with the series. And then what if is what if? What if is Wacko Marvel, where it's just like you basically take the movies and you turn them upside down and shake them three times inside out. And I'll tell you the story because it's sort of amusing. I mean, when I started What If, I knew nothing about Marvel. And so I sat down with somebody, my assistant at the time, and they just went and explained to me everything because you have to really know it in order to turn it on its head. So that's what we kind of did with that. But um, I conclude by just saying it's just wonderful to see all of you here. And we all have to support each other, especially now with everything that's going on politically. We need to be there for each other. We need to vote for each other. And we need to really get our voices in every conceivable way elevated out there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Laura.
My pleasure.
Good luck. Next, I'm going to
Thank
call
you.
up Rashi Kulkarni.
Hello.
Hi, Rashi. Welcome, welcome. I know that you have an album up for consideration in score soundtrack for visual media, A Nice Indian Boy. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, A Nice Indian Boy is a film that had a theatrical release this spring. It's about love, it's about family, it's really about our shared humanity. And spoiler alert, it ends with a big gay Indian wedding, which we don't really get to see on mainstream media. It's extra special because I was brought in very early, so the music, there was no temp. It was my music was informing the edit and the film, and the director and the lead actor, Karan and Sony, are a real life couple, so it was extra special. And the score is a kind of a combination of Western classical and Indian classical elements kind of fused together. And yeah. Oh, and you can watch it on Hulu. I don't know if we're watching Hulu right now. Um, Amazon Prime or Apple TV.
What's your favorite track on the soundtrack?
It's there's two. One is The Sweet, which is up for consideration, and then the other one is called Love is Love. And it's exactly it's my one of my favorites for that reason. So you watch the movie for more.
Absolutely. And you're still in within your 3 minutes. So tell us what was probably most rewarding part of scoring the film?
I really believe specificity in storytelling yields universality, and this score in particular is a love letter to Bollywood. And I just think that like having the opportunity to work on this film, I kind of also felt like a responsibility to lean into that. And also for my director and the lead actor who are a couple in real life, it meant so much you know, to work on something that is a representation of the LGBTQ plus community. And I've had a lot of people come up to me, after and say how much the film meant to me, that it was, playing in theaters across the globe. And so if you haven't seen it, it's a very, very sweet film. I really poured my heart and soul into the score and to the music. And I hope you all will check it out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rashi. And yeah, everybody will get a chance to listen to it from the listening links in the Spotify playlist. Next, I'm going to call up Dara Taylor.
Hello.
Hi, Dara. Now, you have an album up for consideration. We're still in the category of score soundtrack for visual media, and it is Ironheart. We are sticking in the Marvel family. Ironheart, of course, is a Disney Plus TV series. And could you just tell us a little bit about the album?
Sure. Yeah, I actually have two up for consideration this year, but yes, we can start with Ironheart. Um, yeah, so Ironheart, it was a really great opportunity to, blend in orchestra and a lot of synth, and it's set in Chicago, so I had a really fun bucket drum session in there. But it takes us um, through Riri Williams's kind of mind and her ever ticking mind. So there's a lot of like fun percussion and synths doubling orchestra, and but it also touches on grief and belonging and all of those things. So there are some kind of poignant yet cheeky moments as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. And tell us about Straw.
Straw was a film starring Taraji P. Henson is the opposite side of the spectrum. There were many, many less um, notes on the page. It was funny to do one after the other. I'm like, is this all you guys want? No, but it was a lot of fun to also just kind of play around with, some extended harmonies. And I got to write for flugelhorn was the first time I've ever done that. Um, and we recorded it all in Nashville, which was a great experience. But yeah, it's just like it's a poignant drama with also a lot of kind of tension thriller moments.
And if you were going to tell somebody to listen to one track of each album, which track would you want them to spend time listening to?
I would say for Straw, I would do My Baby, which is actually just a string quintet. And then that goes into a brass choir after that. And then from Ironheart, it's funny. It's
And
not,
15
the
minutes.
most bombastic track, but it was a lot of fun to write. It's a track called Think Fast, which is, again, it's a lot of kind of metallic percussion and bucket drumming and all these other and synth elements, which I think is different than my usual catalog.
And I know that, especially in Ironheart, you have a personal connection into the score because you were able to utilize a voicemail from your father. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so Riri, she deals with like the grief of her father. So there is a track where I used the last voicemail I ever got from my dad and I put it through Paul's Stretch, and it's kind of like this ever present pad that kind of goes throughout this scene where she's looking at a projection of like her and her father as a young child.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Best of luck
thank
to
you.
you. And yeah, let's see. I'm going to call up Amanda Jones.
Hey, good morning.
Hi,
Um,
Amanda.
Hi, how's it going? Sorry, I'm off camera. I'm like a little bit sick today, but I'm happy to be here. It's so great to see everyone. So yeah, I have Murderbot as the soundtrack that I'm submitting. And there's also a original song that was created for the series called Sanctuary Moon. It's a title. It's like a show within the show. It's its main title theme. So Murderbot. It's like a science fiction action comedy. It's based on a book series called All Systems Red. It's the first book in the series from Martha Wells. It's a really fun, this crazy sci-fi comedy that utilizes like orchestra and synths and a lot of just a variety of instruments to kind of elicit the feelings of anxiety and action and comedy. And, our main character is this robot that becomes sentient and has a disdain for its clients that he's protecting. But over the course of the series, like really kind of falls in love with them. So the score kind of starts very, very mechanical and electronic, and then becomes more emotional, more orchestral as it goes along, and as he's like falling in love with the folks that he's protecting. And so that is for the soundtracks for Best Score Soundtrack Album for Visual Media. But separately, the Sanctuary Moon title theme, the show within a show main title, it's like the soap opera, sci-fi, crazy series that's totally a parody and has stars like John Cho and Jack McBrayer, and they have these crazy mutton chops, and it's this really, really goofy soap opera. And that score is very like old school, I would say, very Bernard Herrmann-esque. And so that one is for best song written for visual media category. So I'm excited for both. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I asked this question because, there's a lot of music to consider and a lot of music to listen to. So what is your highlight track? What's the track that you really want people to listen
Yes.
to?
I guess for the soundtrack as a whole, I think Murderbot main title is really fun. It's this hyper chaotic orchestral sort of thing. And then my reason for living is like the sound of the score for that show within the show. And that was really fun exercise and just kind of going crazy and writing really fun stuff.
Wonderful. And as far as this Bernard Herrmann type song, did you write music and lyrics for it?
I did. Yeah, I wrote it with the creator of the show, Chris Weitz. So we did that together. We wrote the lyrics together and I wrote the music.
Oh, okay, fantastic,
Mhm.
wonderful. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
We're going to
you.
move into the field of classical music. So there's many different categories in classical. So I'm going to start in best classical chamber music small ensemble, and in that category we have Lily Hayden. Hi, Lily.
Hey Chandler, I'm so excited to see everyone. Everyone's projects are amazing. I have been listening constantly.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I got to see you perform bits of your album, Lullabies for the Brokenhearted, at a showcase on Friday. It was beautiful. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about this album?
Thank you so much. So it's a chamber music album, just violin and piano, and which are is really my roots. Chamber music is how I fell in love with music, and it's inspired by the music I've made for people as they cross over from as they pass from this world. I've done that for seven people, including my parents, sadly, and it's and if you've ever had the opportunity, the privilege of being with anyone in their final moments, you know that that's the place where you're the most authentic and present. There's no room for artifice at all. And with the world being so upside down now, I felt like the one album I could justify making was this present music, and I felt like this is a good deed in the midst of the world going crazy. And my dearest friend Paul Cantillon, a brilliant composer and pianist, was dying of a broken heart because his wife died last year, and I just something told me we had to make this album together. So we put our compositions together and recorded them in my living room, and I mixed it until and then I co-mixed it and produced it, co-composed it. Chamber music is usually a category where people are playing dead guys, so it's special to be an actual composer on a chamber music album. Um, and and it's sort of inspired by Arvo Part, Chopin, uh, and it's really my heart. Feels like the littlest Russian doll.
And I would love if you could finish by telling the story about how you were inspired by the melody of your mother and how you use it to kind of call her spirit, so to speak.
Yeah, so you've been asking people what their focus tracks are.
Mhm.
I have two on this album. One is called The Entwined, which is sort of like this major minor thing, which kind of is meant to evoke that place between places, in that liminal state of this process. And then the focus, the real inspiration for this was when my mom was on her deathbed. I heard a melody in its perfect formation and got my violin out and I played it for her as she passed. And I always felt like those were the notes when I needed her. And I've gone on to play that and other music for several people. And so it evolved, has a meter change. It changes as the gates of heaven open in a way. I mean, I'm sort of scoring this kind of spiritual evolution of my own and what I imagine my mom's might have been. But it really does seem to uh, be consistently able to at least ground me in that mindset.
Wonderful. Thank you
Chamber
so
music.
much for sharing all that. I've got a little internal note that somebody needs to leave. So I'm going to jump to a different category. We'll go back to classical. So apologies, everyone. We're jumping over into global reggae, new age, ambient, or chant. And I'm going to call up Natalie Bonin, please. Natalie.
Hi, Chandler. Thank you for that.
Hi.
Sorry about that. I really wish I could stay for the whole session. But yeah, and Lily, love your album, by the way. So it's fun to segue after, beautiful violinist that you are. Yeah, so I'm here to present Sacred Echoes in collaboration with Radhika Vikarya, who was Grammy nominated last year. And I love this project. It's really bringing two worlds together. Her Vedic philosophy and Sanskrit mantras, essentially, that she brings through her wonderful voice, and I bring the cinematic aspect. We got to record this album at synchron stage in Vienna, which was quite the privilege with 24 strings. So it brings that lush cinematic sound to the album. We also recorded at School Farm Studio in UK, which is a beautiful environment where we recorded with Manjit on tabla and other percussive magic, with Shawshank as well on flute, and myself and Radhika, violin, vocal, piano. So it's been kind of a dream come true. We've been wanting to collaborate for about 3 years. Have been kind of, seeing each other, hearing each other, and this was kind of the music that channeled through us when we finally got the chance. Audio Network presented the opportunity for us, and we just kind of channeled each piece. It wasn't a planned album, but it was really what our hearts needed to say at that time. So I'm really proud of it. Yeah.
Wonderful. And just as a reminder, this is in the category of Best New Age Ambient or Chant Album. What is your highlight track from the album you want people to listen to?
It's really hard to pick. I'm gonna pick two contrasting pieces. So Divine Desires, because it's like the calling to the divine feminine and the divine mother, and I feel it has that presence and that tranquil force in that song. So I really love it. I also love another piece that's completely different. It's called Dancing Flame, and it's really kind of like playing with our own devil, our own passions, and life is a dangerous game. And I think that track really resonates with me on that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all about this. I can't wait for people to listen.
Yeah, thank you,
If they haven't
Chandler.
listened already, I understand that you performed recently and that it was a wonderful performance for everyone. So,
Thank you so
awesome.
much, Chandler. And I look
Absolutely.
forward to hearing. I have to jump, but I will listen to everybody on here and listen to the playback. Thank you so much, everybody, and best of luck. All right.
All right.
Mm.
Let's see. We are going to go jumping back into classical, and I'm going to go into Best Classical Compendium, and we are going to talk about Seven Seasons with Star Parodi.
Hey everybody, hello.
So yeah, tell us about Seven Seasons, and this is another collaboration with Kit Wakely I saw, which you previously won a Grammy for on Adoption Story. So yeah, let's hear all about this.
Yeah, well, first I just want to say hi to everybody, and this is such an amazing group, and it's been so incredible to hear so many beautiful projects. And so yes, this is a collaboration again with Kit Wakely. It's a classical crossover album, and it has some very epic moments, and it has some very intimate moments that are almost just improv. We started it about a year and a half ago, and came up with the concept of a metaphorical 7 days of a tragedy, where it would be the day of innocence, the day of tragedy, the day of disbelief, the day of confusion, the day of why, the day of reflection, and the day of hope. And it was just so ironic that this concept, we've been working on, and that I was set up to do one of the final recording sessions on January 7th. And I walked outside about 5 minutes before our session was going to start, and I saw this big cloud of smoke coming. And that's when, the fire happened. We grabbed our hard drives and a few things and ran out the door. So it's been really healing and interesting to be working on this album now since the fire and having go through, all these days. It's just been kind of crazy, but very, very healing, very beautiful. Kit wrote some beautiful music. I worked on this with Kit and Jeff Fair, and produced it along with them, arranged and orchestrated everything and recorded. I played all the piano on it, and it's one of the last recordings of my piano before it was taken away by the fire. So it really means a lot to me. This album is really beautiful.
Well, I'm sorry to hear the story leading into the recording, but I'm glad to hear that it has been a healing process of creating the album. If there was one track that you really want people to focus on, which one should they go dive into?
You know what? I like Natalie. I have a lot of favorites, but I think my favorite is The Day of Why, partially because of what it represents, because it's an unanswered question. Everything else kind of has a period at the end of it. It has a time frame. And the Day of Why is just a constant yearning and questioning and accepting. And it's got some beautiful vocals by Janai Brugger on it, who's one of the Metropolitan Opera, principals. And I think it's just a beautiful track. So I would encourage people to listen to that.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much. I apologize. Moderating a room this big is very difficult, and I see Cara Talva is actually here, and I apologize I skipped over her in the visual media category. So, Cara, could you come on, please?
Hi, I'm
Hi.
here. Sorry, guys.
Hi.
I'm super sick and I sound really congested. And my camera's off to spare you seeing how crazy I look right now. But
Oh
um,
no.
it's so nice to see all of you and hear about your projects. Thank you, Lily and Star, for inviting me to this. It's putting me in a lot better mood than I was when I woke up. So
Oh. Well, yeah, so we're back in the category of score soundtrack for visual media, and you have a project called The Americas. Could you tell us about it?
yeah, so The Americas is a nature documentary on NBC, co-scored with Hans Zimmer and Andrzej Rosman. And it's always been a dream of mine to score a nature show. And this one was really special because each piece sort of had its own cinematic universe rather than having a theme that is used for every animal. Each animal had its own theme and its own world. So it was really challenging and a massive undertaking. It was 9 hours of music, and nothing could be reused because of the reason that I just explained. So it was a lot of work. It was super fun, really intricate orchestral writing, very challenging. And it felt more like Pixar than your usual nature show where
Hmm.
it's less dependent on sync points and things like that. So yeah, it was really fun, very personal goal of mine to do a show like this. And yeah, grateful that I got to do it and hope you guys enjoy the soundtrack.
Wonderful. Yes. And what is your highlight track? Which one do you want people to really dive into?
Um, Orchid Bee is a really cool one. I think that's up in a different category, best arrangement or something like that. Um, but yeah, what was really cool about this show is that they take really little animals like a bee and they try to really amplify its presence. Like all of a sudden you feel this bee is a transformer or something, and you're really looking from the animal's perspective. So it's really intimate and you're super close up and you can see, just how amazing the things they're doing that you can't ever see with the naked eye, but this awesome technology shows you all this crazy stuff that these insects can do. So
Wow.
that's a cool one to listen to.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. Me too. Thanks, everyone.
I'm going to jump back to classical. So we're back in classical, and I'm going to do the category Best Classical Instrumental Solo and bring on John Jetter, our conductor.
Thank you.
Hi,
Great to
John.
see everybody. And I appreciate being here. One of the things that has been a great joy to do over the years is perform and record music by diverse composers, women composers, indigenous composers. It's become a big part of what I've been able to do, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity and really enjoy it. I've been working on a long-standing project with Naxos Records to record all of the music of Florence Beatrice Price. She was born and raised in Arkansas, and I'm based in Arkansas. My orchestra's here. She was born in 1887 and died in 1953. She is recognized as the first African-American female concert composer, the first to be recognized as having a significant career. And this particular album is a collection of her choral works. that was recorded with the Malmo Opera Orchestra and Chorus in Malmo, Sweden. The recording includes 12 works of hers, including a world premiere performance of Abraham Lincoln Walks at Midnight, which is a pretty major American choral work. It's the first recording. I think it's maybe the first or second time it's even been performed. Terrific mini oratorio or cantata. There's also a world premiere of Song of Hope. And these two works are with chorus and soloists and orchestra. And then there are a number of contrasting works for chorus and piano a cappella. And it was a fun project to do. All of the vocal soloists on the album are members of the Malmo Opera Chorus. So it was a great project to do. And I've recorded a total of 5 albums on Naxos of Preitz's music. It was a fun project.
Very nice. Yes, I saw you're also eligible in Best Choral Performance as well as Best Classical Instrumental Solo. Is there any other categories?
So I talked about the wrong one, didn't I? I covered both. Yeah. So in the instrumental solo, same orchestra, and Han Chen is the pianist in the Price Piano Concerto, also on Naxos Records.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And then if there's a track that you want people to dive into, what would you recommend?
For the piano concerto, I guess track 3, that's the Juba Dance, which is terrific. And then actually in choral performance, A Song of Hope, which is a short piece.
Wonderful.
So I've covered actually both of my albums in less than 3 minutes.
That's wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you being here and conducting and creating music for Florence B. Price. That's fantastic. And everybody that is here, it's a wonderful opportunity because there's so much music to consider, but hearing the stories about it brings a lot of attention to it that I think we wouldn't normally get this kind of context. So I think it's fantastic. Is there anything that you want to add about your albums before your 3 minutes are up?
Just very quickly, yeah, if you get a chance to read about her, it's amazing that quite a bit of her music was essentially almost lost. And part of this resurgence of her music is they found reams and reams of her manuscripts in an old abandoned house. And I saw a lot of those manuscripts. And actually, the room where they discovered her music, there was a big hole in the ceiling. It had been there for years. So a lot of the music is water damaged and moldy and all that. And it's just quite amazing that someone didn't throw it out. And now we have all this history and all this wonderful music that's getting performed quite a bit now, just in the last few years.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Sticking in classical, I'm going to go to the category of Best Classical Solo Vocal Album and bring on Allison Charney.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm
Allison.
so inspired hearing from everybody so far, and I can't wait to hear all the rest. I feel so lucky to be here and to have a chance to share a little bit about my album. Full disclosure, I am not a composer. I am an opera singer, but I did join the Alliance as a supporter about 1 minute after I first heard Star talk about how amazing it was about a year ago. And I've been awestruck all year by everything this group accomplishes. So I'm especially excited to speak to you about my project, which is called Alike, My Mother's Dream. And it is simply my attempt to honor the lessons my mother has taught me, to strive to find what makes us alike as human beings rather than focus on what divides us. I do that in 2 ways. One is with the pairing of what I'm calling the country pieces. There's a piece composed by a Russian, one by a Ukrainian, one by an Iranian, and one by an Israeli, as my way of showing that just as this music belongs right next to each other on this album, so do these people belong right next to each other peacefully on planet Earth. In addition, the album features 3 orchestral anchor pieces that speak to the importance of unity in humanity, most notably the very first English language recording of Amy Beach's Jephthah's Daughter, which had been lost to the world for over 100 years due to collateral damages from World War I. And if you don't know about Amy Beach, hers was the first symphony composed by a woman to be performed in America in 1896 by the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And I just want to point out that I didn't um, I didn't set out to make this project about women composers. So I think it's especially noteworthy that on a purely classical album, the majority of the tracks happen to be composed by women, 4 of the 7, including 2 members of the Alliance for Women Composers, both film composers, both of who are on this Zoom. So I thought maybe they could wave, Kim D. Sherman and Mariana Rosette. And I also want to mention that one of the producers and engineers of the album, Christina Giacona, is also a member of the Alliance, and she's here too.
Fantastic, wonderful. Is there anything that of the album that you want people to focus on? Any particular tracks?
Well, I think Mariana and Kim's tracks is what I would first recommend.
Mhm.
I'll just give you a little brief. Mariana wrote a piece called Kaddish, which is a Jewish memorial prayer, and she wrote it in memory and acknowledgement of the siblings she never met of hers who were murdered in the Holocaust. And it's about her life having been born right after that into a family that did not talk about what had happened. And she herself didn't really understand what had happened, except she would come across things like photographs in her home with children that looked kind of like her, and she didn't understand who they were. And this is about the piecing together of that part of her history. And then Kim's piece is called Invocation. She walked around her very diverse neighborhood of Washington Heights here in New York City, where I am right now. And she asked everybody she could find who worked in the neighborhood to translate one sentence into their language of origin. And the sentence is, "Make peace on all your lands." And that is the one and only lyric that is sung by me throughout the piece. Kim said it in 15 different world languages. It's for full orchestra, soprano, and I sing the 15 world languages, "Make peace on all your lands."
Beautiful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this Zoom, and it's so wonderful to learn all about your album. I have somebody on my list here named Patty Drennan, but I don't see a Patty in the chat. So if Patty, if you're here, speak up. In the
Hi, I
meantime,
am here.
oh, thank you, Patty. Oh, so I didn't see you earlier. Well, welcome. You have an album, Requiem of Light, also in Best Choral Performance, and I would love to hear about it.
Yes, it is. It's an a cappella requiem with 9 movements, and it's recorded by the Clarion Choir director Stephen Fox, and our 2 soloists are Sangeeta Kaur and Brian Giebler. We just got back from LA doing a small performance of it, and in Austin and New York where it was recorded. It's very near and dear to my heart. It was one of the projects that just takes us through, even in not in a secular or sacred world, but in a secular world where you go through loss of a family or loss of a dream or something that you've longed for, and how it lets you travel through those issues, and then it takes you back through the light and hope of knowing that you got through this tough time in your life. And so it's very beautiful. It was just charted number 7 on Billboard yesterday, and was well received for iTunes. And so I hope that everybody will at least take a chance to listen to it. And I would say my favorite, it's hard to say a favorite movement because it's like saying which child do you like best. But I would say the In Paradisum, the very last one, because after the bridge section, we have a double choir there. And it's like when we go to heaven, we see a choir of voices that are meeting us. Those are our saints or our loved ones meeting and greeting us. And so it's just a moment of peace towards the end, but it's a mix of up-tempo, syncopation, a little bit of everything. So, but it's all a cappella.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you could be here. Thank you so much for sharing information
Thank you.
about
I've
your
enjoyed
album.
listening to everybody's projects, and a number of those are my friends, and I've heard them, and they are truly delightful projects.
I love that everyone's here to support each other.
I'm also going to jump for a second because
Yeah.
I'm her daughter, and I'm going to say I'm definitely the favorite child. My brother is not here to attest to that, but hands down, it would be me. But I worked on the project with her as producer and choir master, and we had a fantastic time. But I couldn't let that slip without getting a nick at my brother.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, everybody look forward to listening to Requiem of Light, eligible
Thank
for
you.
Best Choral Performance.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to jump back into the New Age Ambient Chant album. And next on my list, I have Emer Kinsella. Emer.
Right. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I've submitted Concurrence, my album, to New Age Ambient. I'm a composer, violinist, and songwriter. And Concurrence, it takes you through a journey of basically, it delves into the coexistence of opposing forces within us. So, like conflict versus harmony, shadow versus light. And then it guides us towards our future alignment and transformation. It's really kind of a cinematic soundscape with intimate chamber music, blending with electronics, which is delicate but also kind of edgy and defiant. And there's always this concept of water as a recurring metaphor, starting off with being lost at sea, with contingency, and then navigating life's waves with crest of waves. And it was also written during a time period where I was dealing with losing my mom after 5 years of her being diagnosed with cancer after my first few years in LA, and then going back to Europe for the first time and kind of uh, using that as a healing journey with the album itself. And I also worked with my ensemble, the Immersion Ensemble, and we crafted the sounds, a lot of kind of refined and sculpted it through performances. And also got to work with Denise Santos on two of the tracks. She was part of that, and recorded at Jeff Rona's studio. And yeah, so the whole album is a kind of transformational journey.
Fantastic. And do you play on the album yourself?
Yes, yeah, all the solo violin is my violin playing, and so that's very integral to to all the string parts. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what's a track that you really want people to dive into? Or you can pick two tracks. Often people are doing that.
Yeah, yeah, I have to. Back on This Planet, that I actually wrote that, I had a few different versions of that over the time period, and I came back to that. It's mainly about the search for identity, connection, and belonging. And then I came back to it after my mom passed, and also had this perspective of looking at this world from afar and seeing what you would do differently if you had another chance. And then when I went back to Europe for the first time after she passed, I collected all these water sounds around me with field recordings. So, like the sound of rain in a greenhouse in Copenhagen, and the sound of water against a pier in Venice in Italy, and Paris, and in a university that I'd studied at in Vienna. I've just recorded kind of sounds all around me, and that kind of became the bed of that track. And so, water is really like this healing part of the album that kind of washes over you and kind of replenishes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, this is in the category of Best New Age Ambient or Chant Album. Next up in this category, I'm calling up Essen. And Essen, I don't want to slaughter your last name. I don't think I've ever said it out loud. Are you here, Essen? Maybe you're not. Well, we will move on. Essen, if I see you're in the chat, so maybe you're just away from your computer. But if you come back, I will check back in with you. We'll move on to Carla Patullo.
Hey,
I'm here. Sorry, I have to
everybody.
figure out the unmuting Zoom. Oh, sorry.
So Carla, we'll come back
I'm
to you
so
again.
sorry.
It's Essen, hi.
Can I go or should I wait for Car?
No, it's okay. Let's go ahead
Hi.
and jump into you. You've got an album called Gandhi Mantras of
Yes.
Compassion. Can you tell us a little
Yes.
bit about it?
Absolutely. But first, apologies. I just did the LAX to Istanbul flight, which is 14 hours. So this is how I look. And sorry to miss the beginning. But yes, I was a conductor and executive producer on Ricky Cash's album, Gandhi Mantras of Compassion. So the album itself is competing in the Best New Age Ambient Chant Album category, and also one of the pieces that I conducted, which is called Karuna or Compassion, that's also competing in the Best Global Performance. this was very special for me because this is the first ever session that I conducted for another composer. I got to do the spring sessions in LA. Mark Robertson contracted the orchestra. We recorded at Igloo. I want to quickly read the names of the instrumentalists because I'm sure you've all been working with them. So on violin 1, we have Mark Robertson. Violin 2, we have Dan Jacobson. We had 2 violas, Andrew Duckles and Luke Maurer. And for cello, we had Christopher Ahn, and it was recorded by Thea Przewalski. So I'm sure some of you guys already know Ricky, but he's an incredible collaborator and connector within the industry, and he also happens to be one of United Nations Goodwill ambassadors. And he always puts together different kinds of people. It's not just artists that he brings together. He puts together activists, like religious figures, or any kind of impactful people in the world. So I really, really look up to him. And I know that for this album, he researched the hymns that Gandhi used to love during his lifetime. And 5 of those kind of like made it into the album. And there's also original music inspired by it. One of the songs that I got to conduct for, it's called, I'm gonna butcher this, so sorry, Raghupati Raghava. The English name is We Are One. That was one of those hymns. So like overall, it's a very special project, and I really hope you'll all get to enjoy. And I also want to congratulate Patty and Emily because I got to sing on that one piece that they mentioned, which is at the end of the album in Paradisum, and that was also so beautiful to be a part of. I mean, of all of you, and so glad to be here. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Essen. Thank you so much. Have fun in Istanbul. Carla, all right, let's talk to Carla and hear all about Nomatica.
Hey everybody. It's just been a really great time here listening to projects and connecting with people. As a lot of you know, I'm a film composer, but I also 5 years ago came into the new age space. I wrote an album about my breast cancer journey, and through that there was this big awakening actually, where I've been writing music that dives into healing. And so I've done a lot more healing in my life, and this album is very special to me. It's about my mom. It's about I lost her in a car accident about 20 years ago, and it's takes you on the journey to Nomatica, which is this place where I go to reconnect with her. And where I went to reconnect with her and imagine these conversations we never got to have. And you know, I got to work with some really amazing collaborators on it. The Scorchio Quartet, all-woman quartet based in New York. Some of you guys know them. Martha Mook, Lorenza Ponce, Frederica Cryer, and Leah Coloff. And I also got to work with the wonderful Tonality on this project, who I worked with on my last album. And you know, I just you know, it's really just been a healing journey, like, you know, creating this album. And and I also worked with Martha Wainwright, who is Rufus Wainwright's sister, if any of you guys, and who I'll just end with this story. But years ago, I performed with Rufus, and we did a tribute to their mom, Kate McGarricle. And when I was thinking about who I could have to come on to sing and write this last song on the album, Fly Under, which is one of the songs that I recommend for people to listen to. But she had lost her mom, Kate, as many of you guys may know. And so I wanted to bring her on to kind of, I don't know, pay tribute maybe to my mom, since I had paid tribute to her mom. And so we were able to bring that full circle. And it was a really beautiful experience.
Wonderful. And then, yeah, if you have a solo track or 2 tracks that you really want people to focus on.
Yes, I would say Fly Under would be one of them. And then also Nomatica gives you a sense of the world of Nomatica. Oh, and just a little film note. I was very inspired by the film All of Us Strangers. If any of you guys have seen it, it's a very similar story to mine. So it's a great film. But anyways, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We are going to be moving into a new category, Best Global Music Album. And I'm going to call up Chandrika Tandon.
Hi, Chandrika Tandon here. It's my first time with this group, and I want to say it's wonderful to see so many friends and some incredible other names I've heard as legends anyway as part of this. So thank you so much for including me as part of this group. And it's just every time I've heard a lot of this music that we're talking about, and the ones I haven't heard, I'm going to go dive into straight away.
Wonderful.
My album, that's wonderful. Thank you for this. My album is called Soul Ecstasy, and it's a global album. And I've sort of been continuing this journey. This is my 7th album now. And this album, in this one, I'm really exploring the concept of being in the highest, happiest place of joy. And in doing that, I've sort of used, in Indian music, and which I've trained in for many, many years, over 30 years, really. In the highest levels of Indian music, it's really not entirely about virtuosity. The highest levels of Indian music require you to connect with the divine so that you can get out of the way and let the connection with the divine really take over. And in this particular album, as I've continued on, is taken I've composed Vedic mantras and chants, where I've composed fairly extensive sort of verses, but I've also taken very complex and somewhat unusual Indian ragas, which aren't normally sung, like you'd see, and which you require a lot of expertise to sing in. There's one, for example, called Twilight Anthem, where you don't resolve that raga, as you know, in Indian scales, that raga evokes a lot of restlessness, and then you resolve. So it's restlessness to syncopation. That's one. And another one called Jokons is a very difficult raga to interpret and sing well. And it's taken me 10 years or 15 years to even get it right. So I've taken more complex ragas, but I've also played with beats, which is something that I wanted to do this time. So in one particular song, I start with 8 beats and I go into 7 beats, and then I go into 16 beats at different tempos. So I wanted to play with different meters and different scales, but then I kept the words simple. So I wanted to keep them in, whatever your words are to call to divinity, go ahead. But I used certain number of words, and the words I used were Rama. Ra means light, and Ma is within me. And Kri means attraction. And so it really is let the light within me shine is what I used as a moniker all the way. And that's kind of been my whole journey, my own journey with music when I got back to it after a very, very intensive business career. It's still on, by the way, my business career, but this music that I got back into in a very intense way has been my journey of finding myself, finding silence, finding service, finding all the wonderful things in my life. So for me, music is much more than healing. It's really finding the greatest part of me. And that's the part I've been wanting to share in my whole journey with all of you. And Soul Ecstasy is a continuation of that journey. And in terms of focus tracks, look, in my work, I demand that people don't spend 3 minutes on a track. I make people sit for 7 minutes or 8 minutes and sometimes 20 minutes on a track. So that is kind of to silence yourself so that you can experience something beyond. But that having been said, you can take the last track, which is interesting, in the last track called Glory Rising, Tori, the scale is an interesting scale. It's got a lot of flat notes. But I began to do that, but I didn't do too much of it, but I began to do that, which is using what we call konakol, where we use beats in words, da, 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 words like that to match the tabla rhythms. So that's interesting. And I sort of mix the Islamic traditions of jubilant call and response and sitting together in groups and communities singing in terms of calling the divine, that comes together with complex ragas and rhythms. So that was one. And the first track, which is, it's a harmonic minor scale in a raga called Kiravani, and that I did in a very Spanish-influenced way. And so there are two kind of contrasting elements in the album, but each one is quite different. I mean, the one thing it took me a while to come each time every track in this is not something I composed. It all was given to me through very deep meditation. I have a very deep practice of meditation. So I take zero ownership for this. The last thing I want to say is I have about 79 musicians on this track, and or give or take maybe more. I couldn't find, and they're all, most of them, except a couple, are from India. And that quality of musicianship that I have 16 tabla players, I have 32 singers. That quality of music I cannot find here because they are the masters of their craft in every one of the instruments that I've used because they really are, they live there and they practice the craft there. So I'm just so happy and proud to just offer it to the world. Thank you for this
Wonderful.
opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Again, we are in that was the category of Best Global Music Album. Moving into Best Global Music Performance, I'm going to call up S.J. Sorry, I apologize for your last name. Janyi. Oh, I see you're on mute. There we are. Hi.
Everyone. I'm firstly my apologies. I'm from the railway station catching up my train after the concert. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so glad. I'm really honored to meet you. I'm just going out of breath. Yes, so Chandler, can I hear from you anything?
Yeah, I would love to hear about your album, Never Give Up.
Yeah, I'm so honored to quickly explain a few words about my song, Dil Ki Gehrai, Never Give Up. So it has been submitted in the Global Music Performance category. And this is composed, music produced, arranged by myself. Singers are myself, Bollywood singer Ravindra Upadhyaya, and R&B great singer Baba Kuboye. And this song actually, quickly explaining the theme of this song. This is an uplifting global anthem celebrating resilience, self-confidence, and the power of mind over matter. Rooted in the Indian classical raga Simhendra Madhyam and blending the Western classical music genre along with hip hop, rap, rock, funk, and world music. This track is a cross cultural celebration of perseverance and unity. And this song is a movement of hope, resilience, and unity across cultures. And the music video carries a powerful visual narrative featuring a flashback of myself in 2002 that was recorded during a live interview where my dreams of my musical journey was just, I just quickly told to the interviewer who was interviewing me regarding my motivations. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm just going out of breath. Once again, I'm so sorry. And this song actually also explains how a person could overcome the challenge or challenges that come in their way, overcome with great self-confidence, and finally achieve success. So here that is, and this song is available in all major music streaming platforms. And this song actually features the Venezuela Strings Recording Ensemble, a 9-piece ensemble featuring Raniro Palm, MB Gordy, Vito Grigoli, who has co-produced this track along with me, Mac Grigig, Baba Kuboy again, Charu Suri, Mehran Martin, one of the percussionists from Chennai, India, and many amazing talents like Christine Stork, Madhumita Chatterjee, Cherry Moon, Rhonda Valerie Head, Amaru, Siddhant Bhatia, Sriram Iyer, R. Shankar Ganesh, who is my uncle and my manager, who is my mentor also, mixing engineer R.K. Sundar, and mastering engineer Getan John. I know I went away so quickly. I hope I was able to make it to that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time in between, after your performances and everything to talk about your song. Can you remind me the name of it? I know in English it's Never Give Up, but what's the foreign title?
Yes, it is in Hindi language. It is Dil Ki Gehrai, DILKIGEHRAAI, Dil Ki Gehrai.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us about your song. I can't wait to listen to it myself. Um,
Yes, and I just really want to say a big hi to everybody. Thank you so much to AWFC for having me, making me part of this wonderful session. Thank you so much, and my very best wishes to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move into the production, engineering, composition, arrangement categories. So we're going to go into the best arrangement, instruments, and vocals. And I want to talk to Nan Schwartz next. Nan, you also have a arrangement in best arrangement, instrumental, a cappella. So let's talk about both of those arrangements, starting with Make Someone Happy.
Well, you probably all know the song Make Someone Happy. It was written by Julie Stein with lyrics by Betty Comden and Adolph Green. And it was debuted in a musical called Do Re Mi, which didn't really have much success, but the famous version was recorded by Jimmy Durante. I think that's how everyone knows the song. But when I was tasked with co-producing and arranging Maria Pugliareo's album, which is up for a Grammy. It's called My Universe. And I had to come up with songs and ideas and stuff. And I said, I'd really like to do this song, but I want to slow it down because I wanted to be really intentional about it and really emphasize. I felt that in slowing the whole track down in tempo, it would emphasize the lyrics, and they're so profound. And I really believe that our most important calling is to love one another, and specifically another person, but it could be just globally. It's just a great message, the lyrics. And so I was very gratified to get such a great performance from Maria and have a full not symphony. I had a full orchestra that we recorded in LA here at East West that I got to conduct. So it was a great project. So that's the track in vocal arranging. And the second one is for an arrangement I wrote for Bernie Dressel's big band. It's the BBB featuring Bernie Dressel. That's the way he likes it to be stated. He's the drummer, and I've written several arrangements for his band, but this time he wanted a ballad for the next album. And I had been haunted by the melody of this song, The Star-Crossed Lovers, for many years. It was written by Billy Strayhorn. And every time I get involved with one of these songs, I really want to find out more about who wrote it. And so I read a biography of Billy Strayhorn, and he just had a fascinating life, kind of behind the scenes, but such an undiscovered by a lot of people for all of the great things he's written. But anyway, I decided to do that song, and I think it must have some resonance in me because my dad was an alto sax player. He was some of you know, he was a LA studio musician, and I grew up listening to great music. And I'm sure that track, it was a Duke Ellington performance with Johnny Hodges on alto sax. I'm sure that affected me growing up, and I chose that song. So that was the album that Bernie Dressel has done called Number One Son. And my track is The Star-Crossed Lovers in the category of Best Instrumental and A Cappella.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be in this session. You're a Grammy winner yourself and have been working in this field for a long time. So it's wonderful to have two opportunities to check out your work on these new albums. And if there is anything else that you want to say about the arrangements or the approach, I would love to hear it.
Well, I'll talk to anybody individually about my approach, but I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone here because especially people that write music from their heart, that use music to transform the world and have a personal vision, Star and Lily and Allison. And a lot of you I don't even know, but I just can't wait to listen to your music because it's so personal and it's so meaningful and it's so much more important than a lot of music out there that's just is going to come and go, let's say. But these kind of projects really resonate. And I've heard from some of you by email, Carla for one, and I've already listened to her work. It's just fantastic. And it's just I relate to the emotion of it all and the personal stories that inspired you guys to do this stuff. So keep doing that. That's the world needs beauty. We need beauty, and keep writing beautiful music and music from your heart as you're doing. So thank you for having me be a part of this panel. I'm really honored.
Yeah, thank you, Nan. I'm going to call up Janet Robin next. We're going to talk about Best Arrangement Instrumental A Cappella for America.
Hey, how y'all doing? I don't know shit, and I don't read music.
No, but you play it.
Yeah, I did. First of all, thanks for having me. And I must say, just seeing all these women here, composers, musicians. I mean, I grew up in the rock world, and there just wasn't even many of us even back then. This is just fucking awesome. Look at us. We're badasses. Look at what we're doing. This is so great. And each year there's like more women composers and women musicians nominated or winning or getting, you know, the attention that we all deserve because we have paid our dues more than anybody else. You know, let me just say 2 times, right? It's often 2 times over, like 200% that we have to do. But anyway, enough for my speech. America. So the String Revolution, which is my guitar trio. We have originals, of course, but we're known for reimagining iconic covers. And we felt that this was a very timely piece. America from Bernstein and Sondheim, of course, because of the state of our country and our world. And really, what is more American than, you know, our band, a lesbian Jew, a Cuban, an Austrian, and our featured guest, Lakeisha Benjamin, an African-American, amazing sax player. And then we also had Luis Conti on percussion. And then we also recorded a marching band drum corps in Nashville. And so it's a melting pot. And we recorded it in Nashville with John Carter Cash and Steve Schnurr producing. So it's just this whole conglomeration of, you know, musical, cultural backgrounds and you know, a patchwork of influences. And I just felt like that was just more American than anything else, especially musically. So we put it all together, and we knew that the lyrics were important, of course. So we had to tell a story, you know, with our instruments, without lyrics. And I think we did that. And you know, it's important when you do a cover to not, of course, do it exactly like the cover. I mean, like the song itself. It's more important to, like, of course, keep the soul of the song, but reimagine it with your own vibe and your own color. And that's what we did. I hope.
Wonderful, fantastic. Well, I do want to be conscious of, we have a few more people, guys. We're almost at the end of my list, and then I want to definitely use the remaining time to have any last thoughts. But let's go ahead and jump over to Best Instrumental Composition. We're going to talk about Echoes in the Wind. And Liza Carbe or Carve, forgive me.
It's Lisa Carbe, but that's close.
Lisa Carbe. And I understand you have a co-composer?
Yes, my husband, Jean-Pierre Durand. And so that's why we are Carbe and Durand. We're a Spanish guitar duo, and we're part of a larger group called Incendio, a world guitar group. And we've been out for 20 years performing and writing. We started the Carbe and Durand duo because we like to do more intimate things as well. So Echoes in the Wind is an outtake. We wrote and scored the music for No Man's Land, Star Trek Picard. And this was an outtake, and it was supposed to be, if you know anything about Star Trek, it was at a place where Seven of Nine and Rafi were falling in love. And so this was supposed to be them talking back and forth to each other, sort of reaching across borders, physical borders as well as mental borders. and speaking to one another. So that was the two guitars represent them speaking back and forth. So this one ultimately didn't get used, but we kept it for ourselves, and they used other things that we had written for that. But this one we kept for ourselves, and that's what this song is. It's two people reaching across, speaking to one another.
Fantastic. What can you tell me a bit more about Echoes in the Wind specifically? I know you're kind of going into a little bit of detail, but is it just guitar? Is there more elements to it?
No, it's two Spanish guitars. It's percussion, bass, and some synth. We more fully orchestrated it, and it's a very intimate piece. We we write a lot of covers. We arrange a lot of covers as well, but we write a lot of originals. And yeah, this is just it's two Spanish guitars, and it's a very intimate piece.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, I look forward to listening to it myself. Sticking in Best Instrumental Composition, I'm going to call up Ravita and talk about Liquid.
Hi, hi, hi. Thank you so much for having me today. So
Pleasure.
I have three submissions for this year. Liquid in the best instrumental composition. Is there anybody out there in best alternative performance? And there is a new category this year. It's for the best album cover, and I released my album last year. So the album cover, I have submitted it in the best album cover category, which is a brand new category that they have introduced this year. Yeah, so I have three submissions this year. And the one I kind of want to talk about would be, is there anybody out there? So this song is super special to me. I'd been working on this album like almost for so long. I've been wanting to make an album since I was a teenager. And some of you know I grew up in India. So it was so wild because I was like listening to Linkin Park, Avril Lavigne, Evanescence, and everyone else around me wasn't. Um, and it was such a weird thing because I had this natural like inclination towards writing songs. And I have no idea how I got that. Like I would wake up at night and just write songs. And I had no idea like how do I finish my album? And I had such a huge drive. Like I really wanted to figure out how I can do music. And it was such a long journey with the song, Is There Anybody Out There? I actually started writing it when I was like 13 or 14. And I never got around to finishing it. It was like one of those songs that you write as a kid and then you never look back to it until I was 31. And for some reason, I ended up one day that song came back to me and I was like, why don't I finish this? And I started working on it, and it was such an automatic process. I remember I just moved into my apartment, the furniture wasn't here. I was sitting on the floor on my laptop, and I don't know what took over me. I just like ended up producing the whole song. And this song meant so much to me because it became like a conversation between me and my younger self, like the kid trying to figure out how do I put my music out there? How do I produce this? How do I finish these songs? To this person who's grown up and she's like, you just have to wait and figure it out. And so it just became this conversation within myself, and it was such a healing song for me personally. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing about that and your story. I want to call up our last person that I have on my list, and if there's anybody that we've overlooked, we can address that. But Kim Cameron, could you come on and we can talk about best remixed recording for Don't Look Back?
Hi, everybody. I've really, really enjoyed this. I didn't know what to expect, but I really enjoyed it. So Don't Look Back started out as a smooth jazz song. I wrote it after I was reflecting on how easy it is to be complacent to fear of starting something new, trying something again. We all at one point in our lives have had to suffer, experience loss, but it's those fears and emotions that if we can drive through those without hesitation, those are what takes us beyond what we were. And so Don't Look Back is supposed to be a reflection on how we can keep moving forward. And then after Raf Soul, who is a dear friend of mine and also a collaborator, he heard the song and he said, okay, we got to do something magical here. And so as many of you know, I'm a dance music artist and lover. And dance music is all about collaboration. So the art of the remix, if you look at within dance music, is about taking a song and then turning it on its head for the dance club scene without losing the original intent of the song. So, and there's a lot of people who don't think of dance music with live instrumentation, but we actually had Luis Garcia, Vivian Fanlu, Noshir Moody, and Louis Quintero, who were all performing on the track. So I think if you have a chance to listen to both the original and then the remix, it will surprise you how completely reimagined the remix really is from the original song.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And everybody, obviously all this music it's already been emailed to you, but it's going to be sent again and put into a Spotify playlist for easy listening as well. So while we have 10 more minutes left in our session, I just want to make sure, allow anybody that maybe wasn't called on or whatnot, or maybe I know, like for instance, Rashi, I know you have also an arrangement, a cappella, one of your tracks as well, if you want to mention that quickly.
Yeah, sorry. I got the review sheet and I was like, oh, it got updated. Then A Nice Indian Boy Suite is also in Best Instrumental Composition and hold on. Arrangement, instrumental or a cappella.
A cappella, yeah. Fantastic. We'll make sure to try to update our list as well. Yeah, anybody else in our last 10 minutes want to give any thoughts or any updates?
I'm so bad, and I did not submit in time to get on this list. But Tara, thank you for the shout out in the chat. I'm on several projects, Allison's and Stars, Patty Drennan's, and I actually I'm a classical producer. I have I think 10 submissions this year, so I'm going to limit it to two. And I put myself up for Classical Producer of the Year. So I have 5 albums that I produce in the classical realm and then 3 in the jazz realm. My partner, Patrick Conlon, and I actually have a submission in chamber called In the Waiting Room for Works for String Orchestra. And I'm not going to lie, my inspiration for writing this is in the room. It's Carla. So I too am a breast cancer survivor, and I'm probably gonna start crying. I'm sorry, guys. And her album was so moving, and I didn't know that you could write something through sound that actually heals you more emotionally than the medicine that they're pumping through your system. And so Patrick and I wrote an album it was a tone poem about phase change and apartheid, and we already had the musicians booked, and I just had a double mastectomy and full reconstruction, and I was supposed to conduct the session, and I just couldn't lift my arms for 3 hours. So we brought in our friend Jeff Grogan. And in that time, Patrick and I just wrote 2 more pieces about our breast cancer experience together. So the first one's called In the Waiting Room, and that's more from his side. My surgery was about 7 hours long. It was just one of those experiences where they were updating him, but he didn't feel like they were updating him to the fullest amount. So he was just 7 hours of complete stress. And then the other focus track would be The Time We Could Have Lost, which is basically a love letter for ourselves, just imagining what could have happened. But like Carla, it does get better, and it's really the music that makes everything heal and come together. And didn't realize I was going to go on a soapbox for a second. So I appreciate you all for listening here.
Thank you so much, Christina. That's wonderful. There's so much great music to consider in this room alone. So I'm glad that this opportunity, like I said earlier, to hear all the stories behind the music is so impactful. Because so much love and care goes into these albums and these tracks and everything. So I love learning about all of this. Anyways, Star or Lily, do you guys want to jump in with any final thoughts? Because I know you guys are the orchestrators of this and would just love to kind of hear from you guys as we close out.
Well, I'll just say it's just been such a joy to work on this with Lily and Chandler. This has just been amazingly, beautifully put together, and Connor and Alexa. I think that that so much is focused on after all the campaigns happen and the nominations happen, and I think it's really important to realize how hard it really is to get nominated for a Grammy, an Emmy, an Oscar, any of the awards, and how important it is for women to be in the mix so that we can all be seen more and get more work. It's just a wonderful thing, support each other. So I hope that this is, kind of, I mean, Lily and I both hope that this is the first of many things where we can support each other at the beginning of the process so we get to know
more
each
women
other better.
nominees and continue to amplify each other's voices.
Yes, yes.
As I cut you off, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, you finished my sentence, which we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, so it's totally great.
It's been such a joy to talk to all of you in putting this all together. Each one of your projects is so inspired, worthy of being supported. We sent out an email this morning that had a subject line that was a little confusing, so I'm hoping we can resend it with everyone's projects, categories, listening links, and that we'll all be able to check it out and keep this as for reference as we move into this next phase. If anybody is a member and is confused by the ballot, it is a confusing ballot, so feel free to reach out to us if you need a little bit of guidance. I'm just hopeful that we'll be able to support each other, and thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chandler,
everyone.
also for taking the
Oh,
time
you're
today.
welcome. No
So
problem.
much, Chandler.
No
And
problem.
thank you,
No problem.
Connor.
Yeah, thanks for running this, Connor.
Honor, and thank you, Alexa, and hopefully we'll be able to send out that email again today so that everybody has a chance to listen to everybody's projects.